I, 44, have a 23-year-old biological son as well as 3 foster children, 2 boys, 9 and 17, and 1 girl, 12. I have been a foster parent since my son was 4. I am a social worker as well. He has gone through life understanding the system and the horrors these kids face. The 3 that I have right now I'm planning to adopt. I love them as my own. The last 2 Christmas I have not had my biological son, Tyler, home. He has spent them with his girlfriend and wife now of 8 months family. I have always respected it. She is much less independent than Tyler and her family suffered the loss of a grandfather, so they wanted her there for the holidays. This Christmas Tyler has been telling me that him and Sonia, my DIL, will spend Christmas with our family. Well, the day before yesterday Tyler told me he feels like he owes a debt to Sonia's family for the extravagant wedding gift they gave them, and he felt pressured to spend another holiday with them. I didn't believe him. I know when my son is lying. After pressing for about 15 minutes he revealed to me that Sonia felt uncomfortable spending Christmas at our home because it did not feel genuine. She says that my foster children are not real family, so it takes away from the spirit of the holiday. I would never let anyone be so disrespectful to Tyler, so why would I let this fly with my other children? I told him fine, but if she doesn't feel comfortable at Christmas then I don't ever feel comfortable with her around my kids, and she cannot step foot in this house again. I have always treated her with kindness and respect. I love her because she loves my son and he loves her, but I will not let anyone exclude my children. My husband believes I'm going to cause a wedge between us and our son, but right now I am so disappointed in him. This is not who I raised him to be. Maybe a wedge is needed for him to come to his senses. So am I an idiot? I was adopted. My mom eviscerated many people over the span of her life for even suggesting I was anything less than her child. I've never forgotten those moments. I felt unconditional love and safety in those times as she shot lasers from her eyes and flailed her mommy pointer finger wildly around at them. You're an incredible parent. Protect your kids. I hope your son figures his life out quickly before there's any damage. Not the idiot. Not the idiot, and I would honestly have a long talk with your son without her around, letting him know how disappointed you are that he has chosen to stay with someone like that, and ask him if he agrees and sees your soon-to-be adopted children as lesser family as well, because, if he does, then he probably needs to not be around those kids either, because his feelings would show at some point and hurt them. I have 4 brothers, 1 biological and 3 that came into our family through the foster care system. My family has never made a difference between any of us. I have never been as mad as I was the one time a social worker came to my home and told me my siblings were not my real siblings. I changed their diapers. I taught them to speak stupid sentences very clearly at a young age. I crawled on the floor to encourage each of them to start doing so on their own. I comforted each of them when they called me crying about their first heartbreaks. No one can tell you who belongs to your family. It's not up to anyone else. Blood is not the definition of family. This is important for context. My husband and I have a very strict rule of if you don't call or text us before you come over, you're made to leave. This has been a fact since we got married and had kids. This applies to both sides of the family. So today around 4:30, I hear a knock at the door and it turns out it's my in-laws. My husband isn't home at this point, so I quickly call him to see if they'd talk to him about coming over. He says no, they hadn't. I check my messages and missed calls and voicemail. They didn't call or text me either. I answer the door and ask them what they needed. They ask to see our daughter, who isn't even home. She's at my mom's house visiting for the week, since my husband and I are in that process of closing on a house and moving out of our rental home. So we are not in any shape to receive guests. I asked them if they called or texted my husband or myself, and they admit they hadn't, but they didn't see the issue since I was home. I remind them of our rule and tell them they need to leave. My FIL gets huffy, saying they drove over an hour to see our daughter and they should be allowed in. I explained that I understand that, but since they didn't check with us first, they needed to leave. I go to close the door and my MIL puts her foot in the way to prevent the door from closing. At this point I'm getting extremely frustrated as I have other things I need to take care of. My MIL explains that since it was such a long drive, they should at least be let in for a few minutes to visit. At this point my husband comes home and my in-laws are under the impression my husband will let them in. He doesn't. He tells them to leave, and at this point they're trespassing. We have a no trespassing sign on a tree by the house. It's clearly visible. My husband reminds them of our rule and tells them to leave. They refuse. My husband then tells them he has no choice but to call the police and have them removed from the property. My in-laws think he's bluffing, but my husband isn't a bluffer. He calls the sheriff and has his parents removed from the property. His parents are extremely upset, saying we're idiots for not letting them break the rule. I do honestly feel a little bad since they did drive an hour to see our daughter. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I'm guessing your in-laws are overbearing and are used to getting their way, and that's why your rule exists. Some parents never accept that their children are adults and want to keep acting like the uber parents, and standing up to them is disrespectful. Rules and consequences like this often emerge from this kind of family dynamic. Honestly, anyone who sticks their foot in the door and refuses to respect the homeowner's request to leave is in the wrong, period. That's aggressive and confrontational, even if it's a grandma doing it. I don't think they did drive over to see your daughter. I think they drove over to try to exert dominance. Are they thinking ahead to the holidays and want to be the king and queen of Christmas? Are they threatened that your house move will somehow make you less accessible than you are now? Whatever triggered them today, they wanted to show you they are the bosses, and you are just the kids. Not the idiot. Personally, I think this is so wrong on your part, but boundaries are boundaries, and your boundaries are very clear, and they were reminded of them multiple times. What did they want? To be let in, and then you and your husband go back to doing whatever you normally do. Then they get mad for not being treated like welcome guests. Once you said no and she physically stopped you from closing the door, it was past the possibility of being a positive interaction. My husband and I took in his cousin Sue's newborn due to her and her partner John's addiction issues. It's not a decision I regret. This beautiful boy is the light of my life, but it was a major life change for us. Especially me, as I was the one who gave up my job and my social life to be basically locked up, isolated during COVID with a baby. It was supposed to be temporary while they went to rehab. They never went to rehab nor complied with any of the safety plans set up by CPS. From 2 months on, they have not seen the baby nor supported him in any way. John's family has not been involved either, as they also refused to abide by the safety plan or any of the CPS recommendations. Now 2 years later, my husband and I have full legal custody, and CPS has closed the file. We have put forth a petition to change the baby's name. At birth, John and Sue named the boy Stephen to honor John's brother, who died of an overdose while partying with John and Sue, who was pregnant and getting high. My husband and I have never ever referred to the baby by that name. We always called him Davy, his middle name, after Sue and my husband's grandfather. So instead of being Stephen David Jones, we are changing it to David Owen Smith. Owen is after my father, who absolutely adores him and accepted him as grandson from day one. So here's where I might have ventured to idiot. My husband thinks I went too far, but I feel they pushed me to the end. John's family found out and blew up my social media and messaging. Not husband's, just mine. Telling me that I have no right to change the name or honor my father because I'm nothing more than a babysitter and I'm not the real mother. I was called a baby thief amongst more vile accusations. So I snapped and responded back that my son's names will honor good men that he could proudly emulate, not like their junkie relative who was a crap stain on the world, defrauding the government for benefits and stealing from anyone he could, and contributed nothing to life or society, and his only accomplishment is that he OD'd before he went to prison. Harsh, yes, but I still don't feel like I'm an idiot. Holy crap, that was pretty wretched. I think your words were a bit over the top, no matter how true they probably are, but you just ignited the flame. Sometimes saying nothing speaks louder. Next time, and there will be one, show some grace and restraint. It pisses them off more anyway. Not the idiot, and if none of these family members are in this child's life, they have zero input, and block them on your social media, all of them. Good luck. Gentle, everyone's the idiot here. They're speaking from a place of pain and shame. I'm glad the baby has you and your husband. But there is no need to speak like that of people suffering from addiction. They're already as low as you can get, so there is no need to punch down like that. You know the truth of the situation. So do they. They just can't admit it to themselves. Keep being a godsend to the little man, block the ones hellbent on rewriting the narrative, and enjoy your family. Everyone's the idiot here. You are the kid's parents now, and the family have no business kicking off at you. It's not their call. However, the way you talk about the late brother is revolting. Addiction is a disease. Would you be saying the same thing if he had killed himself due to depression? Coming from a family of addicts who I am zero contact with, I fully understand the anger and the need to remove the child from any trace of that life. But it's not an excuse to talk too horribly about their loved one who died due to his addictions. My 17 dad cheated on my mom when I was 5. I know because I'm the one that caught them one day and asked my mom about who the lady dad was kissing was and kicked off the whole divorce afterwards. Really fun for a little kid, let me tell you. I haven't had much of a relationship with my dad. The custody fight was fucking awful and the affair girlfriend was pregnant with my half-brother, 12, and they got married quickly, and just trust me that my dad has just done a lot to be angry about, to save space. I basically told him I hated him and I stopped talking to him and ignored him during visitation time until he stopped coming. My mom remarried and my stepdad is a much better person and treats me like his own, so I've never missed bio dad much. My paternal family still keeps in touch with him. I just go to my mom's side for all holidays and see them when he's not there. My gran has gotten really sick, though, and asked me to at least talk to him because it makes her sad that we don't have a relationship and he misses me. I decided to talk because I can't say no to my gran. So, a few months ago we talked on the phone and then met for lunch. I told him that for my gran I was willing to see him only, but never family 2.0 and he could take that or leave it. He really wanted me to meet my half-brothers but agreed. One day he picks me up for lunch, but his wife is at the restaurant with the 2 boys, younger is 10. I'm totally furious but we're in public so I'm giving my dad the death glare while trying not to make a scene and texting my stepdad to come get me. The 10-year-old asks if I'm mad about my mom running off with me so I didn't get to grow up with them. I lost it, I probably shouldn't have. I told them their dad cheated on my mom with their mom and ruined our family growing up, and I'm only mad he was a cheater. The kids looked shocked and an argument started but I dipped as soon as I saw my stepdad pull up. Apparently the boys didn't know and are now mad at their parents. My dad's wife is mad at him and me. My dad is upset and wants me to apologize. The family is all over the place about it, but my aunt said I made Gran cry when she heard about it. My mom says I just told the truth and that should never be wrong, but I should have just waited for my stepdad and not gotten mad. Not the idiot. You made your boundaries very clear and instead of respecting them or at least trying to get close to you before bringing it up again, he decided to spring his new family on you and completely remove your choice. I'd say you've done what your gran has requested by trying and he messed it up so you're free to go right back to no contact with this idiot. Oh, and they deserve to know the truth if they're going to be trying to get them to have a relationship with you. Harsh, but it's the parents' fault, not yours. Absolutely not the idiot. If someone wants to be supported in their lies they better be darn sure that they let the other person know what lies they told and that you are willing to go along with their lies. Rather than simply accepting what you were willing to give him, he ambushed you with the people he knew you did not want to meet. It is high time he learns that his choices have consequences and that he should stop blaming innocent parties. I wouldn't worry about him and his wife but I feel sorry for all of his kids. You are definitely not the idiot. It's not on you to support your sperm donor's lies, the fault is with him for A, creating the lie in the first place instead of saying nothing, and B, for putting you in the situation by bringing your step-siblings and violating the boundaries that you had established. You can't be responsible for someone else's poor choices. So I was sitting on a bus today, it was gonna be a 4-hour journey, and it was less than 5 minutes before the bus had to leave. It's literally empty except for me and 4 other passengers. So last minute this guy comes on, looks around for a while, and then asks to sit beside me. Quickly thinking to myself that I don't want to be stuck beside a stranger for 4 hours when I don't have to be, I get up from my seat and tell him to go ahead, in the nicest way possible. I then move a couple of seats behind the row I was sitting at. He gives me a really dirty look then and when I was getting off the bus, he rolled his eyes at me. Oh, also it's a direct bus by the way, there was no stops along the way. I understand that my actions probably seemed very rude, but I just honestly didn't feel like sitting beside a stranger for that length of time, when the bus was basically empty. Like it's nice to stretch yourself out on a journey that long and not have to mind someone else's personal space, and I also didn't feel like talking. But I feel guilty thinking I offended him or upset him. Like the more I think of it the more guilty I feel. He obviously wanted someone to talk to but if it was a short journey I would've, but I didn't want to be stuck with him to find out he's a weirdo and then make it more awkward by then moving after talking to him. But then I still have the nagging feeling I was rude or could have hurt him, and his facial expressions definitely implied it anyway. So am I the idiot? not the idiot. Stop thinking about it. A lonely stranger isn't entitled to your time, nor should your comfort be compromised due to someone else's desire for conversation. I'm assuming he had only good thoughts in mind and he wasn't doing it to hit on you or hit you up to buy some essential oils or recruit you to his religion. In those cases, it would be even worse than just forced conversation. He had no reason to sit next to you, plenty of seats available. If you felt uncomfortable sitting next to him, then you had every right to say no or move to another seat. This sounds off to me, and I believe if you have a concern or feel unsafe, the people can change or move from others. If maybe nothing would have happened, but the risk is always there, and one time you don't listen to yourself, could that tune something happens. I'm immunocompromised, and once at urgent care, this unmasked couple with a dog sat right next to me, so of course I moved a few seats over. They proceeded to stare daggers at me. Does that make me a bad person for not wanting to get sick while having a compromised immune system? Also, I could have been allergic to dogs or afraid of them. Again, would that have made me a bad person? This man doesn't know your story, he doesn't know your health status, he doesn't know anything about you. Why should he be mad at someone for not wanting to sit by a complete stranger?